We have a lot of stuff, and I want to commend Elon because he's done a fantastic. He doesn't need this. You know, he's abused by you people every day. He's found more things than anybody could find. I think he's got the credibility to do it. I know he does. And it's his group of people. You know, they started off with 12. I call them 12 geniuses. They started off with 12, and they went to 20 and 25, and now they're up to almost 100. People are joining to help them because there's a massive fraud that's taken place. And then you have judges that are activists, and they sit there and they say, oh, as an example, $59 million going to a little small group in New York City. You get nothing going to North Carolina to help nothing. They say, we don't have any money because they've given it away on the border. But you have nothing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm diving into a shocking story of massive government fraud, waste, and abuse. Billions of your tax dollars are being funneled into projects that make absolutely no sense. And what I'm about to share will blow your mind. Make sure you stick around until the end, because the scale of corruption we're talking about here is staggering. And before we get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss videos that expose the truth behind what's really happening.
To talk about widespread fraud and abuse.
Oh yeah, tremendous fraud. There's tremendous fraud, and it's hard to believe that you can have that kind of fraud. You're talking about are you talking about what? Wait. Which are you talking? You're talking about with regard to all of the investigations that are going on about this stupidity. What we're going to do is tomorrow I'm having a news conference. I'm going to read to you some of the names that hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars have been given to. And if you tell me that we should be giving money to those things, those entities, I think you'll probably have to leave as a reporter because you're not very talented. When you look at the kind of money, billions and billions of dollars being thrown away illegally, and there's no chance. I mean, I say it in front of our Attorney General, there's no chance that there's not kickbacks or something going on. When you give millions and millions of dollars to somebody that stands to look at something for 15 minutes and walks away with millions of dollars, that money's coming back in some form. And that's only one form of corruption. The biggest thing is what they do to our country. They're taking massive amounts of money and spending it on items. I went through a list of 200 expenditures that were made, and I found 3 that looked like they were reasonable. Okay, 3. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow. We have a lot of stuff, and I want to commend Elon because he's done a fantastic. He doesn't need this. You know, he's abused by you people every day. He's found more things than anybody could find. I think he's got the credibility to do it. I know he does. And it's his group of people. You know, they started off with 12. I call them 12 geniuses. They started off with 12, and they went to 20 and 25, and now they're up to almost 100. People are joining to help them because there's a massive fraud that's taken place. And then you have judges that are activists, and they sit there and they say, oh, as an example, $59 million going to a little small group in New York City. You get nothing going to North Carolina to help nothing. They say, we don't have any money because they've given it away on the border. But you have nothing. What they did to North Carolina is a shame. And then they sent $59 million to New York City for a hotel for a little bit of nothing. What they've done, a hotel that was not luxury, that's getting luxury rates for migrants, where they're making a fortune, and we catch them. But a judge says, well, even though it may be a fraud, you have to send the money in anyway. Send the money. I said, wait a minute. We have money that shouldn't go because we caught it before it was sent out, but they want the money to go anyway. And I think you're going to have a lot of things to look at, Pam. I really do. What's going on with this whole thing? And this is just one group. We haven't talked about Department of Education. We haven't talked about the military. We haven't talked about a lot of things that are very big. And what's happened is, as an example, you'll have cases where you have a 3-month contract, and maybe the guy that signs the contract leaves. Maybe he gets rich. All of a sudden he leaves for that reason. But you have a 3-month contract, and maybe he leaves. So the contract is sitting there, and the people signing the checks don't know it's 3 months, and it goes on for years. The 3 months turns out to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, just goes on forever. And the guy on the other side of the contract just keeps getting check after check after check, because Elon had an expression yesterday, because nobody cares. It's a great expression. Nobody cares. The guy that signed the contract didn't care. Maybe there, may not be there, maybe crooked, who knows. But you have to care. Otherwise, you can't really run a thing like that, or you can't run a country, really, because there's so many transactions, thousands and thousands of transactions. And if you don't have people that care, you're going to lose control. And that's what's happened, and we've caught it. Now, what we caught is billions and billions of dollars, but it's a tiny fraction of the real number, because you can never catch the real number, because people have gotten away with tremendous amounts of money. But I said we have to make our government smaller, more efficient, more effective, and a lot less expensive. And we could find $1 trillion, but we're being hindered by courts, where they file in certain courts where it's very hard to win, and a judge will stop us, and a judge will say that it doesn't make any difference what you find. You just keep paying the money. That's a hell of a way to be. And I follow the courts. I have to follow the law. All it means is that we appeal. But that gives people time to cover their tracks. And that's what they do. So it's a very bad thing that's taking place. But hopefully, if the courts, hopefully the courts will be fair. They don't have to be very fair. They just have to be a little bit fair, because this is so egregious what's taken place. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Nobody's seen numbers like this. These are massive numbers. $9 million for somebody to go and stand in a store and see how people shop. Okay? I mean, you take a look at these things. It's a disgrace. And then you have a country that we want to make America great again. It's very hard to make America great again when you have things like this. And you're going to see the same thing. Department of Education is going to be a disaster.
The speaker claims there's widespread fraud and abuse in government spending, with billions of dollars being wasted every year. Out of 200 reviewed expenditures, only 3 looked reasonable. Just imagine, 97% of the money reviewed was questionable, and yet it kept flowing. Judges even stepped in to block investigations, ordering payments to continue even when fraud was clearly detected. That means money was knowingly sent out, even after being flagged as fraudulent. Interestingly, Elon Musk was praised for stepping into this fight. The speaker says Elon and his growing team have uncovered fraud that nobody else would dare touch. They started as a small group of 12 and are now nearly 100 strong, described as some of the brightest minds, exposing corruption at levels never seen before. It's a reminder that private citizens sometimes do more for accountability than entire government agencies. One glaring example, $59 million sent to a single hotel in New York City to house migrants, while places like North Carolina got absolutely nothing. Then there are contracts meant to last only 3 months but stretched into years, funneling endless money to insiders. And get this, millions paid to people for simply observing shoppers in a store. These aren't isolated cases. This is the system at work. The speaker points out how easy it is to save money when leaders actually care. For example, he personally negotiated the price of Air Force One down by $1.7 billion. But at the same time, projects like the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier spiraled out of control. Supposed to cost $3 billion, it ballooned to $18 billion, with systems that don't even work. The message is clear. When nobody's watching, taxpayers get ripped off. The fraud isn't just in one area, it stretches across the Department of Education, the military, foreign aid, and beyond. The conclusion is simple. Government must get smaller, more efficient, and far less expensive. According to the speaker, if real reforms were made, the US could save $1 trillion. $1 trillion. That's money that could lower taxes, strengthen the country, and actually serve the people instead of lining corrupt pockets. This isn't just about numbers, it's about trust. The system is bleeding money, and the people paying the price are everyday Americans. If we want to make the country stronger, waste and fraud must be rooted out at every level. What do you think? Should private citizens like Elon Musk be the ones uncovering corruption, or should this be the government's job? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, if you found this breakdown eye-opening, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you're always in the loop when we expose what's really happening with your tax dollars.